Hi everyone, welcome to Red Fox Sewing and Crafting, and welcome to my craft room. I'm Joanna. So today we are going to be working on pages 5 and 6 today. You will need some ribbon for closure on page 5. So let's get started with that. Page 5, you will need two 5.5 by 10s, two 5 3/4 by 10s, and two 10 by 10.5s. So we will need to pull our scope boards out, and we are going to start with the 5.5 by 10s, and with the 5.5 at the top, you're going to score at 1/2 inch. Again, with 5.5 at the top, score at 1/2 inch. Grab your 5 3/4 inches by 10 inch. 5 3/4 at the top, score it 1/2 inch, and at 3/4. With the 5 3/4 at the top, score it 1/2 inch and 3/4. And then our two 10 by 10.5s. You want the 10.5 to be at the top, and we are going to score at 1/2 inch, and then we want to flip it and score it 5.5. So with the 10.5 at the top, score it 1/2 inch, flip it, and at 5.5. Now if you made a wrong score mark, you could just flip it back around and score along that line, and then kind of burnish it out and it'll disappear. So now we're just going to fold and burnish on all of our score marks that we made. And be careful Now it's time to put it all together, but before we can put these on our page, we need to attach our 5.5 to our 10.5. So all you need to do is make sure that your flap is going towards you like this, and then you want to add your tab to the upper part of your flap here. And carefully line up the edges. As best as you can, so that it looks like this. So this right here is the 10 by 10.5, and this is the 5.5 by 10. You just want to attach the 1/2-inch tab to the larger piece so that you have an accordion fold. Gonna do that to the second piece really quick. And now you should have two large accordion flaps. So now we can grab our books, and to make it easier for myself, I'm just going to remove my closure from my page 3 here to make things a little flatter. And then we can work on page 5. I have some ribbon here. I'm going to cut this in half, and then we're going to add it to the top and bottom of our page. So I'm gonna grab some score tape here. And I'm going to find the center of my page and add my ribbon. Right where I want. I'm going to go on the other side and do the exact same thing. And now we have ribbon closures. So you want to add your gusseted flaps on first. And we are just going to put them right over our ribbon on the top and the bottom. Just line the edge up with the edge of your page. Just like so. And make sure you're doing it with just the tab and not the gusset. And then when you're happy with it, you can burnish it down. And you have a flap. Now we're going to add the second one to the bottom. Exact same way. Make sure to line everything up. And then stick it down. Now that our flaps are added, we're going to open them up. And we're going to add our accordion folds. And these are going to go on the right side and the left side of our page. And when you put these down, you want to make sure that you're not going over your score mark. So I just kind of like to close it to make sure that I'm inside the space. Need to go forward just a tad bit. Close it to make sure that it works, and then once I'm happy with it, I can open it up and burnish my tab down. And then our last piece for this page. I go on this side. Make sure you can close it. And then stick it down and burnish. And that is page 5. Really easy and simple page to do. So I'm just going to cut my ribbon here really quick. And page 5 is done. Now we can move on to page 6. So we can put our album over to the side for now. And we will need our next pieces. For page 6, you will need one 5 5/8 by 10, one 11 1/4 by 7 5/8, and two 9 3/4 by 10s. So we are going to start with our 5 5/8 by 10, and you want the 5 5/8 at the top, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch, and at 5 5/8. Just like that. With the 7 5/8 by 11 1/4, we're going to start on the 11 1/4 inside, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch and 5/8 on 3 sides. So score 1/2 inch and 5/8 here. Rotate 1/2 inch and 5/8, and then rotate one more time, 1/2 inch and 5/8. And then for our 2 9 3/4 by 10 inch pieces, you want to put the 9 3/4 at the top. We're going to score it 1/2, 3/4, and then flip it and score it 6 3/4. So 9 3/4 at the top, 1/2 inch, 3/4, flip it, and 6 3/4. And now we are going to fold and burnish on all of our score marks that we have made, being careful of the gusseted parts, making sure that you keep that space. And if you need to, you can use a spacer or a ruler to help you fold on those lines. So we're going to start with our large pieces, and you just want to miter the 1/2-inch tabs, just like this. I'm going to do the same thing with our small piece, just mitering on the 1/2-inch tab, leaving the gusset alone. And then with our pocket, you're going to miter the top 2 corners like this. And then on the bottom, you want to miter to the corner and cut straight across. And you're cutting out the large square, the small square, and then the 2 rectangles in the corners. So it'll look like this. So we are going to start with our 2 larger pieces, and we're going to put them on the left and the right of our page here. And you want to make sure that you're just putting the 1/2-inch tab down and not the gusset. You want to do your best to line your flap up as best as you can. Just like so. You want to make sure that your gussets are straight. And you're going to grab some magnets. You want 2 pairs of magnets for this. I'm just grabbing some score tape really quick. Help me with this part. The first 2 magnets we're going to put down is going to be on the underside of one of these flaps. So you want to decide if you want it to be like this or if you want it to be like this. I'm going to put it like this. So I'm going to put my magnets about, say, about right here. And and about right here. And you want to make sure that you're putting your magnets where the overlap is, because we are going to put our second ones okay. So that might be a little tricky, so we're gonna have to do it the other way, which we can do. So you want to choose which way you want your flaps to be. I'm gonna put mine like this. You can put yours like this if you want. I'm gonna do mine like this. So we're gonna start with the bottom ones. We're gonna put them on the large part here. And you wanna make sure that you are putting them where the page overlaps. So I'm gonna put my first one about right here. And then my second one about right here. And then we can close this up and work on putting the other ones on, and we're going to put that on top right here. So you're just going to take your second two magnets and just kind of stick them on, and they'll find their partners, and then you can just stick them right on top like that. And now we can open this up and work on the inside. I'm going to work on the flat first. So this is just going to go at the top, and you want to line it up with the top of your page, making sure that you are not going over any of the score marks. Once you're happy with it, just open it up and burnish it down. And now we can work on our pocket. So I'm going to start with the bottom tab first. I'm going to put that on the bottom of our page. Be careful of our gusset, making sure that it's going in the score marks. I'm just going to test it out to make sure that it fits, and it does. And you might need to, if your magnets aren't sticking, you might need to rearrange them a little bit once you're done, but that won't be too big of a deal because you'll be covering everything with pattern paper. So I'm just putting some tape on the bottom here, some Scotch tape, and now we can work on the sides. And when you do this part, you're going to have to watch and make sure that you are keeping everything level and straight, because you have gussets and you want to keep those gussets. So we're going to add our glue to our tabs like this, our tabs, and then I'm going to carefully making sure that our gussets are visible. Going to carefully put it down on our page, laying it up with our score marks on the other side. And if you need to, you can also push down on the bottom of your pockets to make sure that it's lining up with the bottom too. And then since this is a small gusset, you can just kind of run your fingers along the edges, or along kind of where the tab is once you're happy with it. And then we close it. I'm going to move my magnets over a little bit. You know what? We need to add 2 more magnets. These are going to go right. Let's try them on here to see if that works. Yep. So we're just going to add them to the top of our second flap. And then it will close. Just like that. So I hope you are having fun working on this wonderfully large album with me. And I will see you next week. Bye!